I guess we are looking to Ray and Gina and kind of have to. Ray and Gina have hired many consultants, so I guess the next step is what do we do? And do we need to draft anything like an RFP, or is that something Ray or Gina are going to do? What's next? What are the next steps? Ray, you're on mute.
My microphone, there we go. That's the next step. So yeah, this is a $10,000 contract, so we could go out sole source if we felt like we really had a definite best for the project, best for the town solution for this. So I don't really know. Do we have someone in mind there, or would we benefit by an RFP and a competitive solicitation? I hadn't really, gotten to the answer to that, so I put that out there to the group.
Well, that's a good question.
Maybe a prior question. I reviewed what Martha submitted and what the letter from the county, the approval letter said, and it's pretty wide open in terms of the language. And I wondered what we really want the consultant to do. Develop 100 acres is very open-ended, isn't it?
Mhm.
And I think to the extent that we can, as a housing committee, should try to pin that down. Particular kind of development. The history of the parcel, as I understand it, there have been various attempts to buy it in the past or have it gifted to the Finger Lakes Land Trust, the northern half of it. Do we want the consultant to think about that part which is adjacent to the creek and more conservation prone, more distant from the road? Do we want to hive that off and save it for conservation, or some portion of it, maybe not 50%, and work with a smaller piece of it? Do we want densification, diversified housing? A lot of things that we commonly talk about.
Mhm.
Martha, what do you think?
Well, I think Ray and Gina added some specifics in the application,
Mhm.
as I remember it, that were important things like somebody who would really dig into the topography and um, look at the information that we have or don't have about water and sewer, um, and give us a more reality-based sketch,
Mhm.
drawing, or sense of what's possible on the parcel. At the moment, we have some sketches based on, here's a flat piece of 50 acres. And remind me, are we talking 50 acres or 100 acres?
Well, it's a 100-acre parcel, and that is often referred to as Leonardo because it used to be held by a single entity, the Leonardo family.
Mhm.
But it's always bifurcated because the northern half, north of the rail trail, is in the conservation district and is really almost all floodplain of Fall Creek. And then the southern half is the dry uplands adjacent to Route 13. So that's why we often, talk about only a 50-acre parcel because that's the developable prospect.
Okay.
And now it's further complicated because right now there's a fight between the estate of John Leonardo and his niece over ownership. And so in some, I think before the court is a consideration of dividing the parcel into two, which would be a north-south line down the middle that would then give one owner 25 acres of the uplands and 25 acres of the floodplain, and the other owner the same. So,
Because if you divided it according to where the trail is, then somebody gets something you can't develop at all, and the other the entity gets all the value, the economic
Right.
value.
Yep.
So here's a thought. Based on what you just said, the scenario in which the family um, can't agree on a unified approach, so there's two recipients. It would seem to me that an important question for a consultant would be which half should the town express interest in if it had its choice in terms of sewer and water, electrical, and other infrastructure.
Mhm.
And um, let's see, I guess then if it was a 25-acre proposition, the development, or whatever we mean by that, going back to my prior point, becomes important for a smaller parcel, right? Um,
Mhm.
let's just imagine the case in which we felt that the western, closer to NYSEG portion of that corner, if it was divided into those four pieces that you just speculated on, Ray,
Mhm.
would be perhaps of primary interest to us. And we really do need a consultant to tell us the economics of further development, the east versus west, the north versus south. And by the way, is it a foregone conclusion that 50% would be in conservation or just some of it is flood, whatever is floodplains say?
Yeah, so that I'm definitely speaking in generalities. That northern half is 50 acres. It is pretty neatly a halfway line where the rail trail goes through.
Okay.
In that northern half, we really don't have a full grasp of how much is actual floodplain. It could be that only 80% of that is floodplain, and there
Mhm.
is some nice prime uplands there that are ripe for development.
Okay.
Are those adjacent to Laurel Creek Road or so? Is that?
No, it would be, accessed off of the rail trail or something that crossed the rail trail coming down from Route 13.
Okay, so on further study, it might end up being that some of that would be developed.
Yep. But
Okay,
having a major crossing of the rail trail then diminishes and sets up conflicts, diminishes the value of the rail trail and sets up conflicts there. So that
okay.
has to be heavily weighed as to,
Say that again, Ray.
oh, if you actually had a major crossing of the rail
Yeah.
trail, that would diminish the quality of the rail trail and the resource that is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
in exploring the development potential of this entire 100 acres, we should be very careful about what kind of development goes north of the rail trail. Uh,
Hmm.
it can be things that are recreation oriented that serve that community that's on the south side of the rail trail. That's the residential, and this is a recreational resource on the north side.
Do any of you know if there is a time limit on the use of the funds from the county? Is the clock ticking as of, say, September 1, and we have to use it, and therefore to delay until the court settlement and the title clearance, et cetera, happens, we might lose an opportunity that,
Well, my experience with county money is that if, as long as we're showing progress and still continue to be a viable uh, investment for them, that they will stay engaged. I mean, we've strung out the infrastructure study at NICEAG for probably 5 years now as an
okay,
example, but I hate to throw that example out because I don't ever want to do that again.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Let me first I have to ask, I was making my own notes and I missed quite what kind of missed what you said about the court situation. Where is it? Where does it stand, Ray?
Um, well, I don't know that I have not heard any progress on the court. The John Leonardo's estate and Giselle Leonardo, the niece, I think are the two vying for ownership. And that's where I think, one of the solutions on the table is taking this north-south line down the middle and dividing it to those two parties. Giselle has been reporting to me that she's pursuing getting control of the entirety. I don't know by what means, whether it's a nasty court action or whether it's family working things out. I really don't know.
Okay. But you're saying there's no progress lately.
No progress to report. Yeah.
Okay.
And we should be, I'm always concerned. There are probably, as we talk details of land transactions and potential purchases and stuff, it's probably, it might behoove this committee to go into executive session rather than speak in the open about things that might affect any future dealings with maybe town purchasing this parcel. And so I just want to put that in our, back of our heads for that.
Do you mean now, Ray? Executive session?
No, not necessarily, but we're on that edge where I would want to be careful.
Yeah,
Well-
we're definitely on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, if we raise any questions which warrant that, please say so we can stop. I have a couple of questions that just occurred to me. One of which is whether John, so there's competition for tenure and having the whole thing going to one of the other parties.
Mhm.
But do we know that John is averse to development along the lines that we might be very happy with? In other words, there might be harmony. Okay.
The estate, John's estate has half ownership interest.
Uh-huh.
I have not spoken to them directly. So I've only heard, secondhand through Giselle that, they are not really looking to develop this. But, it's all secondhand.
Yeah. And there's some competitive interest there. It might be good to reach out, however informally, to get a sense. I mean, maybe there's disagreement on title, but agreement on ultimate use and the idea of a growth modular area there. This came to mind because I asked in a follow-up email, I think I may have sent it to Gina, after we learned about this, that getting a letter of intent from one or both of these family members, both if possible, but I was talking to some folks in the county and they said that if it were decided in favor of one of them and rather than the other, and we didn't have their intent written down, we could be rudely surprised with what we hope will develop there, and what may have signaled that to us. But if it's in writing, it's much more likely to hold water, especially if one of them died after being the recipient. And I don't know the age of the parties involved, but
I'm gonna move that we go into executive session. I'm getting uncomfortable here.
You can't because there's not a quorum.
We have 4 committee
Out of
members.
9.
Wait,
Well,
we're,
just discontinue it then.
I will
no, we
take,
don't have
yeah.
9 Lauren, we don't have 9 members right now because we have no planning board representative.
Town board voted to up the number of members to 9.
Right, but we don't have them. They don't exist. We don't have 9 members.
Right, but it's a majority of the number of slots.
Oh, Lauren, that can't be right. We don't have 9 members. I have to challenge that. I don't see how that's
Okay.
that we
I-
don't it's not like we have 9 people who have agreed to be on this committee and only 4 of us are here. We don't have 9 members.
So how many appointed members of this committee exist?
But the thing is, even though the planning board liaison is a member, that's the way it was written. The
There
town
is no
board-
such person, Lauren. I'm sorry. That's crazy.
It's the
No,
law.
Lauren,
It's the law.
Can I just say
that-
something in between here? Is that if we don't have a quorum to go into executive session,
You
we
can-
don't have a quorum preventing a discussion
You,
outside of this meeting about this issue. Correct?
say that again, Gina.
Like a quorum cannot gather and discuss an issue that's not in public, correct? But there isn't a quorum right now. So after this meeting,
you can discuss it.
early,
You
then you
just
can discuss it.
discuss things in public. You just can't vote. And one of the requisites to go into executive session is a vote.
Well, we're not at the point of voting on anything that I've heard.
We want to vote on executive session. There's some sensitive stuff here that we should not be talking about. And there are 4 members out of like 6. The only other current sitting members of this committee are
It's not,
Miles
it's
and
not written
Leonardo.
as
So
sitting.
there are
It's
6 of us.
about total membership, Martha. It's about total membership.
We don't have those members, Lauren. Those are
have-
fictional
Yeah,
people
look.
at this point.
Well, that's why it's important to get those members.
Okay, well, maybe we don't have to push and resolve this point right now, because I think we can probably go forward. I'm gonna make contact with both the estate and Giselle, try and get, I don't think I'm gonna get letters of intent from them, but get a sense of where they're heading and see how serious the estate intent is. And Lauren, we should probably figure this out for when and if it comes up in the future, as far as the number of appointed members or the number of declared members by, the start of the committee.
So is
So
there,
like if we only had so many appointed, that would seem like the number that we have to get a quorum towards, but maybe it would revolve around the number of places that were established by the town board. I don't know.
so is there a chance that we could spend this money on this property and not have a chance of ever getting it? So it would just be a waste of the funds?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay.
The town does not have control of this property by any means. Yep.
Yeah, and we don't want control of it as so thanks, Ray, for reaching out to both parties. And just to be clear, Chuck, John Leonardo is dead. That's why we're talking about John Leonardo's estate. So Ray would be reaching out to his attorney or executor or whoever is, yeah. And, it may be that, if the estate is interested in maximizing the value of the estate, they might be supportive of development, even though Leonardo
Hmm.
himself was not. But he may also have put something in his will that just said, like, over my dead body.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. So, okay, so you'll get some more information. That's great. It's true, we don't have site control. We don't want it because as my sense is we want to facilitate private, public, private, nonprofit, somebody to build on this parcel, but I've never had a sense that the town itself wanted to be owner or project manager or anything like that. We just want to facilitate developers coming in to do good things.
Mhm.
Martha, I would just point out that if the scenario of division that Ray raised, a north-south division as well as the east-west, so there's 4 quarters, then 25 acres gets much closer to the INHS comfort zone than 100 acres or 50 acres.
Right.
Mhm.
And since you've been so good about communicating that to Kate and others there, we should bear that in mind in terms of options and kind of going back to where we started the meeting today, what the consultant is asked to do and to think about.
So you're right. I don't want to give up on the idea that 50 acres might be able to be considered all at once. Because once you do something on 25 acres, you've probably foreclosed or made more difficult options on the other 25. So it'd be far better if we could look at the whole, if whoever's doing this is going to look at the whole 50 acres.
Mhm.
So
So then,
my understanding was not that INHS objected to the number of acres. It was different parts of the kinds of development that were being put forth. So like they would want to do multifamily housing, but they don't want to do single family housing. They don't want to do businesses. So I don't think it was a matter of the acreage.
well, they did say that the whole parcel was too big a project for them. And they do some single families, but not, they wouldn't do 30, I don't think, you know, they do single digits. They do daycare programs, but they wouldn't want to run a grocery store or a drugstore or something. So it's both the type of stuff that we might be looking at as well as the overall size.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to go back to an earlier question about the requirements of the town for when the money has to be spent. And in the award letter, it doesn't say anything about it, but it does say that that Shauna will contact me to finalize a contract for the award. So it's not specified at this point.
Okay. All right, but it is true. And I will say it has happened in this award program that the county has run that there was specifically something with the town of Ithaca. They got a grant to look at a particular piece of property off of 96B and King Road. And it turned out that the owner was just flat out against it. So they just returned the grant at some point.
Mm.
Or they never accepted the grant because they didn't get cooperation. So the bottom line is, back to the first question, what would we want a consultant to do, whether it's 50 acres or 25 acres or whatever? And I think we should really be thinking 50 acres for now. And you know, Ray and Gina, you put some things into the grant itself that were more specific than the language that I had, as I remember it. I see your eyes. I wonder if you're looking for the grant language, Gina. That'd be helpful. You'll find it quicker than I will.
Well, I wonder if Gina and I shouldn't draft a first RFP and then pass it by this committee for critique.
That's
Great
great.
idea.
That'd be
And make sure
wonderful.
we all get our interests expressed in it, but we'll put the initial out there.
That'd be perfect.
Great.
Do you either of you have a particular consultant in mind, or, you know, that's an executive session?
Yeah, no, I really don't. I mean, my first take on this is I think we would benefit by a competitive process and see, you know, get a variety of firms
Mhm.
bidding for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to entertain the possibility of someone new, somebody who's just so ideal for this that we could rationalize the sole source contract.
Which could happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, but a competitive RFP wouldn't have to take that long,
Right.
right? Yeah. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Anything else about the grant that you'd like to talk about, or should we move on? Okay, next on the list is the TC3 dorms.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think 2 years ago. Everything takes so long, right? I went to a couple of meetings on behalf of this committee at TC3, and there was a lot of excitement about reuse of those dorms. And they're owned by the TC3 Foundation.
Mhm.
And then the foundation woke up and said, wait a minute, we can't, actually the lawyers for the foundation woke up and said, wait a minute, we can't we don't know if we can do this. We don't know if we can sell these things because they have obligations with the bonds. Apparently that's gotten resolved. And now these buildings are on the market. I did reach out to President Kremenek, but I got an out of office message, so I don't have any update from her. Ray, you sent us their prospectus, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it lays out all sorts of, it puts as rosy a picture on it and as open a palette as possible. So,
Mm.
yeah, it'd be nice to get some money looking at it. Because I assume that's what it would take, is to totally buy out the bonds to get rid of that condition.
Yeah.
Martha, were you gonna reach out to Kate De La Garza? Was that
Yes,
what-
I did. And she said, Lynn Truaim, who's their real estate person, has reached out to whoever's doing the realty, whoever's doing the deal, to
Yes.
the project manager at TC3. So they've reached out. I was real interested to know, and Kate didn't say whether she knew whether an entity could buy one or two of the buildings, or are they looking to sell three as a package? So I don't know that.
And I would think anything's possible. It's all a matter of what can pencil out.
Do you guys think that's something somebody along the lines of like Rocco Lucente would be involved in, or I guess anything could happen?
He's got enough to do.
Yeah.
Let's not tell him the dorms are sold.
Okay.
Let's let him get the apartments done in the village, right?
They're in a very specific model, and so I don't think this would interest them. They'd feel out of their comfort zone, and I think rightly so.
Okay, good. Okay. So there was no ZAG meeting this last month. And Chuck had sent out a little update. So did anybody have any questions about the ZAG? Okay, moving on. Chuck had some information.
Well, hold on. I really appreciate Chuck, you're sending. I was looking for it. I'm not sure maybe I didn't save it.
I resent it today.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, you resent it today. All right. Was there anything in particular you wanted us to pay attention to about it?
Well, you may remember at our last meeting, my computers continued to fritz out. And so it was like a peekaboo thing. I appeared and disappeared. And I didn't know how much of what I wanted to communicate came across. So I typed up my notes and sent them. And when Lauren sends out the minutes for last month's meeting, I don't really know how you handle something like this that isn't fully discussed, but maybe it can be put in as an appendix or explained. And in terms of your specific question, Martha, I think the main gist, and Gina or Ray, if you know more about this, please fill in. But it's basically John has been charged with the leadership. He's divided the zoning challenge that comes from Nan's report, her initial report, into 3 stages. And she's currently taking feedback that John has provided her from the first stage discussions and developed a second draft of the first phase. And I can't remember the things that John included and didn't include in that, just sitting here at the moment. But the important thing is that the committee, which will resume its meetings starting this Thursday, will be looking at the second draft from Nan, and time allowing will probably be looking down the road to what is going to happen in the later stages and the public hearings that accompany all 3 of the stages. So if you're interested in the specifics, just read that one-page attachment that I said a little earlier.
Yeah, thank you very much. I did just open it and I see most of it's about the BESS, the energy storage systems, but yeah, thank
My
you very much. for
understanding
sending
of the
them.
current progress for ZAG is that this Thursday's meeting will really be, I think the agenda is the data center piece.
Oh, yeah. Thank
So
you. Right.
and
Really important.
also, if they can get into it, a discussion of what would be in the phase 2 scope for next year, just to start that process of putting that together so that, after this is kind of a draft before the town board, the planning board can then start, okay, here's the scope of year 2, and we'll see if we can engage Nan in that as a next contract. So I don't think there's a draft from Nan yet on the general the definitions, the bigger part of the phase 1 scope. I think that's a deliverable this month, so that'll probably be the October ZAG meeting agenda. As I say, I think this Thursday might be pretty much taken up by the data center.
A question, Ray. Someplace in the past when we had a moratorium, um, I thought that they had a termination point, and then things open up. And if we lag behind or are inattentive to that uh, timing feature, it could get automatically approved just because we didn't get our act together in time.
Right, so that was an 18-month moratorium, started last summer. So the end of this calendar year, I believe December 31st is our landmark date. So
Oh.
we either have something done or the town board would act to extend it. Because we have shown substantial progress on it. But
Okay.
they wouldn't let it lapse. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else on the ZAG? Okay. Last month we talked a little bit about land banks, and Chuck looked into it this month. So Chuck has an update for us about them.
Thank you for your kind of saying what's up. What are these items, and are they extensive? And that encouraged me to look further. I had a vague impression of their existence in several counties, and upon further inquiry, discovered that ever since 2011, when the nonprofit legislation in New York stated to include a land bank provision, they've really taken on a life of their own. And we could leave it at that, except that some of what I've subsequently heard makes me really want to report to our committee. And if we feel it's important enough to pass it on to the town board, we could contemplate that. What I'm referring to, well, first, let me give a little bit of background. If those of you on the Zoom at the moment don't know more than I do, then this could be helpful. Just for instance, what are the things that a land bank can do? And I'm taking this off of the New York State website that deals with land banks. It's called the New York State Land Program. As I said, it started in 2011, and here were the carrots or ideas that they pitched. Sell or convey property through locally developed policies that reflect the community's priorities. Sell through negotiated sales. Convey for other than monetary consideration. So, you could conceivably grab some land that was in a land bank. It could be used for a charitable purpose or a conservation purpose. Sell, lease, or manage property with terms deemed to be in the interest of the land bank. So the land bank has a lot of discretion in this. It isn't just dictated one size fits all from Albany. Use land bank financing tools for tax foreclosed and other targeted properties. And I'll come back in a moment to what those option properties are. Support local planning decisions by adhering to local priorities. as to use and transferee of land bank owned properties. And then some samples of land bank programs: real estate sales, real estate development and rehabilitation, land assembly for development, property improvement, demolition, renovation. And so basically the idea of the New York State Land Bank program, it permits municipalities to apply for and create land banks in their communities. Land banks are not-for-profit corporations created to take control of or to redevelop vacant or abandoned properties to better serve the community interest. And on that webpage, they give quite interesting information. If you don't rehabilitate property that is eligible for those and a couple of other reasons, it really can affect the tax base. Things can go to hell in a handbasket, basically, and people try to avoid that area, the so-called broken window effect, and you lose tax base. And the opposite is true if it churns through a land bank mechanism, gets revitalized, and put back either on the market. And this was a point you raised, Martha, in a follow-up email, saying that it made you a little uncomfortable if a land bank just was a windfall for private developers or for profit. If, as I understood you, you were wondering if could the land be transferred to a nonprofit, an INHS, or another group of that persuasion. The answer is yes, both, for sure. So let's see. In order to combat the problem of vacant and abandoned properties, New York State Land Bank program permits municipalities to apply for and create land banks in their communities pursuant to certain laws, which I won't go into. And this is important. It caps the number of land banks that can be, under this legislation, it can be established in New York State at 35. So I wrote the director of the program and had a follow-up telephone conversation. How close to we are? We're at 32 right now. I asked if municipalities, in addition to counties and cities, both of which already have land banks, could a town such as Dryden apply and become a land bank? I haven't received an answer on that yet. In 2018, it might have been more recent, the state set aside $50 million to help start land banks. The startup costs, some staff, and probably grants, not unlike we just talked about with regard to Leonardo, to identify properties that are eligible because of these sort of negative externalities that they're experiencing. Very useful funds indeed. So I included in the letter where I asked about could a town such as ours be eligible, whether or not those funds still existed, and would we be eligible for those? And I'll have to share that when I get to it. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. There's a surprising amount of very good information, both from the New York state government, but also from this New York State Land Bank Association that currently exists. And the director of that, a woman named Jocelyn Gordon, says that every one of the 32 counties or municipalities that have these banks has a director. And she said it would really be in our interest, if we are faintly interested in a land bank, to look at the variation. She said no two land banks are the same. It's the opposite of one size fits all, which is kind of encouraging. It seems to say, she seems to be saying that we would find some counties are using it for really to revitalize an urban or suburban area that's blighted, and another county or municipality might be using it for affordable housing or conservation or a mix. So, thanks for your question again, Christine. It really led to some interesting information.
And it looks like 4 of the 32 properties are cities. So there's 4 cities and the rest are all counties or geographical areas.
Right.
Where is the closest land bank to us right here?
Schuyler County,
Tioga?
Schuyler, right next
Oh,
door.
Schuyler, okay.
Yeah.
And Tioga. Tioga's on the list too.
You said Tioga?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh.
that's it. What are they, do we know what they do with them, with these entities?
I think I looked at Tioga last month after we had talked about it, and there wasn't a lot of information on their webpage. I'm looking at it again now. I kind of got the impression they were fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So the issue, I'm thinking of that, so the question is though, then you'd have to, the only what kind of vacant land do we have? Are we thinking of anything in particular that might be eligible or appropriate?
What about like all the houses that you drive by that have the condemned signs on it? I wonder if those property owners would be willing to donate their land in exchange for whatever relief they can get.
Well, the primary reason that cuts across most of the jurisdictions that have them is to get rid of tax delinquent or tax foreclosed vacant or abandoned land. And I don't know the answer to how prevalent that is either in our town or our county. I've written Jay Franklin and asked him, there's 35 or 36 1,500 parcels in Tompkins County. And somewhere last week I saw the figure that 5,000 of them are vacant. But within that 5,000, I'm sure some of them are vacant for just neutral reasons. People not forfeiting or being foreclosed or sheriff sales, etc. So we need a more refined sense for what's going on in Tompkins County. And
Chuck,
in
vacant could just mean inhabited.
undeveloped. Yeah,
Just, yeah, there's
I think so, Martha.
tons
Like
of
woodlands.
parcels
We'd
that
want,
don't have any residence or business on them.
we want abandoned properties.
They're not abandoned, they've never.
I know,
had-
I'm saying you would want abandoned.
Right.
property.
Right.
Yeah.
And in my memory, when I was on the board, tax foreclosed properties, and it's the finance director at the county that manages this. Now, Jay would, I'm sure, know a lot about it, but the finance director is the person who actually manages this, or at least used to, manages the process where some owner is not paying their taxes. The county legislature always had the whole time I was on, a priority that the finance director should make every effort, especially where there was any sort of residence, make every effort to accommodate the person, to rehabilitate
Mhm.
the ownership and help them pay their taxes, establish a payment plan or something. So they always start with a certain number and then whittle that down. By the time the auctions come up, it's a much smaller number. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, one problem of looking at it that, as sort of like parcel by parcel is that then it's not like you're going to have, say, 50 acres near NYSEG and Route 13 that could be developed. You're going to have, a parcel there and a parcel over there, and they would be pretty random,
Non-contiguous.
non-contiguous properties.
I'm looking at the Tioga County one, and it looks like they do have mostly single family homes. And a lot of them say that they acquired the property. There's one that says they acquired it through a private sale. They've also received the ARPA funds, and then they were awarded the Main Street program money, and they're helping to revitalize like apartments and commercial buildings in downtown Owego. So it looks like they're doing a little bit of everything.
in the land bank.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
it looks like mostly rehabbing, like single structures.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I
In
would
the-
say we don't have a comprehensive approach here in the town, but what has happened to structures over, the last 10 years that I'm aware of, some we have actually found a delinquent property and found someone who is capable of rehabbing it and has then approached the current owner and purchased it and gotten it back into a viable dwelling that way. I've tried a couple of times with getting Habitat for Humanity to
Mhm.
intercede before the auction or even participate in the auction. It's always, their response has always been they haven't been able to get the board of directors to be responsive enough to actually participate in an auction like that. So that tool really hasn't worked. I think, some Dryden parcels have gone through the auction process and have been reestablished as residences, but that's to, one single entity's profit. So yeah, we don't have the land bank that could intercede and be a viable mechanism to put vacant properties through. But just trying to conceive of setting up that structure for the sake of 50 parcels over the next 10 years. It's hard for me to think of putting that in the town halls job jar.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. That would be overwhelming, Ray? Too much?
Yeah, it would definitely be something I wouldn't want to commit my staff resources to.
Uh-huh.
Partnering, if Tioga Land Bank, an established land bank from Schuyler or Tioga, Tioga's really close, wanted to expand into our territory, and we use their structure to feed properties into, and we have some control over that part of it that deals with Dryden parcels. I can see something like that. Just hard to imagine setting up a land bank structure. Seems like a lot of resources towards a small endeavor.
That's
Do you know,
interesting.
so could a county land bank have, do properties in another county? That's interesting.
Well, yeah, that seems
Well,
like their charter could be, you can do things across jurisdictional lines like that. Like we have Dryden Fiber, having agreements with adjoining townships to go across, and, sometimes it takes an enabling statute to be passed to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
I should add that the several of the city land banks that Christina mentioned are partnerships of a number of jurisdictions in and around the city. The Schuyler County Land Bank is called the Finger Lakes Land Bank. So there's a lot of elbow room there if they wanted to partner with us or we with them. The thing that I think we should maybe think about, depending on the responses that come back from the state, eligibility, funding, etc. If in fact we're at 32 and there's a ceiling on the current availability, or I guess legitimacy of 35, legality of 35, we might want to stir the pot a bit and find out whether the town or our county are interested in taking advantage of this. It seems like there's a net gain in terms of, and the literature that both the county and this, I assume it's nonprofit partnership, the association, based on what they say, there's all kinds of derived social benefits, both market and non-market. Crime rates drop where you rehabilitate dilapidated areas and vacant property. Um, and I don't know that that would necessarily apply to a semi-rural town such as Dryden, but it might. And it's worth gathering more information, and based on that, we decide that we want to make a pitch.
So let me understand, but you need money to do this, right? I mean, even if just one staff person, you need a professional who can manage real estate transactions and I assume knows something about rehabilitating derelict structures and how to build or whatever, or at least to hire people to do this. So you need some kind of professional expertise. And Ray, you're saying your job, what'd you say, your job jar
Yeah.
is plenty full.
Mhm.
So, and Christina, you said that they used ARPA money and Main Street grants.
Yeah, that was Tioga County.
That was Tioga.
It sounds like they acquire the properties and then they either rehab them or they sell them to private developers who agree to rehab them, and that's kind of where they get some of their money, it sounds like.
Mhm.
So they have to build in some kind of profit margin between
Yeah.
what they pay to acquire something and what they sell it for.
Mhm. It's really interesting.
Well, there might be scenarios where abandoned property can be acquired for very little cost. Or for taxes, and the county might, or the jurisdiction might luck into some property that's very low value, turn it around and have a profit or nonprofit developer, and then there's a margin of profit there that either goes to the jurisdiction. Yeah, I suppose that's where to go, and then could be, it's like a revolving loan fund or purchase fund to continue doing this.
But you need something to get started.
Right.
And if the
Okay.
state funding still existed to capitalize it, I mean, there's a whole lot of ifs here, so this is all speculation. I just felt, since we had raised it in a previous meeting or two, it's an area that we really hadn't thought much about that might have potential.
Well, it's interesting. I'm thinking now, Gina and Ray, I wrote you about 2 properties on Ellis Hollow Road that appeared to be abandoned.
Mhm.
And as they are, they're not, I would assume, particularly valuable. But I would think land in Ellis Hollow Road, even if it's, tear down what's there, could be valuable. So is
Yeah.
that the kind of idea that we're talking about?
If it's tax delinquent, and there's a certain number of months that have to pass, or I think it's actually 3 years. And the jurisdiction monitors that, and there's an inspection. If taxes aren't paid and improvements aren't made, then it gets into a category where the jurisdiction can get it for very, very little and around and put it out for bid and work with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah,
could
in
apply.
those 2 properties, just so you know, Martha, one of them is a rental property that is just between leases, so it's not going to be a long-term vacancy. The other one, I wasn't able to find out what the status of that is.
Okay.
But yeah, there is a long waiting time to be able to take such a drastic action as to take somebody's property. But we already have that mechanism through the county, through the tax foreclosure. That is one system that'll handle a certain number of these properties.
Well, it's interesting this hasn't come up at all in, years prior to this. So
I wonder
Yeah.
if Tompkins County's ever considered it. They must know
That's
about it.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't remember any discussions about this at the county level. Chuck, you said you've already reached out to Jay Franklin to ask what he knows or thinks about this?
And David West.
Okay.
David is very knowledgeable about them, no surprise. And maybe he will, I mean, depending on what he or we or others find out and shovel to him, he might
Mhm.
see this as an opportunity that people haven't talked about. Let's get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
What does David West do with the county? What's his title?
Housing administrator.
Okay.
Well, housing and economic development specialist or something. He's he had worked for the county as like the housing person for a couple of years. He worked at he was the Danby planner, and then he worked for the county. Then he went to Geneva to be the a planner in the city of Geneva. And this past year, he's come back to Tompkins.
Okay. And Geneva's in Seneca, isn't it?
Say it again.
Isn't Geneva in Seneca County?
Ontario? Yeah, I think Seneca.
That's probably why he knows so much about their land banks then, because that's where the Finger Lakes one was.
Oh, I thought it was in Schuyler. Am I wrong?
I think it's Seneca County, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
thanks for the correction.
Yeah, Seneca. So I
Okay.
guess we're just waiting to hear back from those couple of people before we can consider doing anything else.
Yeah, I
Okay.
will summarize whatever I learned. Other agenda items?
Had you guys heard about the Dryden Center for Community? I just thought it was kind of interesting. It's not housing, but it's kind of interesting, because it goes along with the community, but it's the group that I guess they purchased or they want to purchase the old Methodist church in the village, and they're turning it into like a community center and like a public building. So that's kind of cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, they have a website and everything. Trying to find it.
Mike Murphy, are you still on there, Mike? Mike?
Yeah, he told us
Camera-
about that.
Camera and audio off, but I thought I heard him say something about that somebody was saying they were looking at making it sort of like the Homer Performing Arts Center.
Yeah, not-for-profit community center,
Mm-hmm.
inclusive gathering space. Or sounds music, art, space rental, community dinners, game night, workshops, rehearsal space, dance. DrydenCenter.org is the website.
That's great.
That's all I had on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to talk about?
I just want to go back to what Lauren was saying, that we, to the extent that we have ideas, I think we should be reaching out and exploring to get another member on our housing committee.
Yeah, this went out on did it go out with other openings, other vacancies in the town newsletter?
I know she's working on something for the September newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
I can just remind her real quick. I'm sure she did, but just in case.
Didn't we talk about possibly putting an ad of some kind in the shopper or other places besides the minutes, I'm sorry, the website, just to reach out as far as possible.
Well, I think the
No,
idea was Cassie was going to check on like there are other town boards that need members also. And that seemed efficient way to do this, to sort of send out a note, or maybe as you said, maybe in the shop or something that would list not just this committee, but I guess the Recreation Commission needs They're looking for people and,
DBA, planning board, yeah, a lot of the committees are understaffed.
Yeah.
Procedurally, does it,
Bambi in the past has run shopper ads on behalf of all the town's committees.
Mhm.
And I don't know when that was last done, but
Maybe we should put up a sign by the town clerk's window.
well, they have applications, pile applications right inside the front door, so there is some presence.
I think really the way to do this is to find particular people who we know have some kind of interest in this. You know, Chuck and I know somebody at Hillside Acres and had fingers crossed that she'd be interested, but she felt she was too busy.
Mhm.
So it's like really an individual invitation is probably going to be the best way to get somebody. Chuck, do you have any more information on Hillside Acres at all?
I do not.
Okay.
I have this question. If one of us identified somebody that was a candidate, uh, do we have to go through the town board or something, or can we invite them to attend with, say, Leonardo's permission? I'm assuming they would want to get the gist of what we do and participating in a meeting or two as a member of the public. How does that work?
I would say invite them to attend, yes. And
Well, we
start, see if their interest matches ours. That's
Yeah,
the
we did
best
that
way
with the
to,
Climate Action Committee. Evan Kurtz had joined for a couple meetings and then he filled out an application and got appointed.
Thank you.
just tell us ahead of time so we're on good behavior.
Right. Like Trevor Cross was somebody who attended once or twice, right? Our meeting. I don't know if he's interested.
Does anybody know him?
I
What did
know
you say?
a little bit.
Trevor Cross?
Oh,
Yeah. Again, Mike knows him. Is that? Yeah, if Mike is there. Well, yeah, I think that's his name.
mhm.
Do you think a real estate agent might be beneficial or would that be not? Because I was thinking Zoe Leonard, she owns the Dryden Creamery. She seems like a real go-getter, but next time I go get
Yeah.
ice cream, I can ask her about it.
She's a realtor.
Yep.
Yeah.
A neat idea.
Okay.
Yeah, ask her. I don't know her. That's the kind of thing that could really work.
Okay.
I
I'll go
think
get
if
ice
we-
cream today.
I think it'd really be good to bring new people in. We tend to sort of recycle the same people over and over again. People get burnt out, so Zoe Leonard, if she's a new face, that'd be great.
There's a developer in Dryden whose name I don't remember, but he's attended a couple of our meetings where I think last year he's got a development adjacent to the village, and he attended one or two meetings with regard to sewer and water issues, infrastructure.
You might be talking about Paul Simonet. He has
Thank you.
Maple Ridge subdivision and he's
Thank you,
looking
Rick.
to expand that.
Is it sort of a conflict of interest to a developer is different from a realtor? And I'm wondering if a developer would be viewed skeptically as a member. It's a question.
Yeah, they would certainly have to recuse themselves on certain pieces of our agenda, but in general, they could be very insightful on general development of the town. So I think it would be a good resource. We just would have to, be very communicative about the various conflicts if we got close to any land he was involved in.
Maybe
Yeah,
we could
great.
put some flyers at the Repair Cafe on October 4th, I think it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't have any power to worry about.
Yeah.
But what'd you say, the Repair Cafe? What is that, Gina?
Oh, the Climate Smart Task Force is doing a Repair Cafe where people just bring their broken and broken items. There are bicycles that need repair and clothing that needs mending and
Mhm.
small appliances and, have them fixed. So if we had some flyers to give out at that event, might have some people grateful for a community help in that respect and be community minded.
Yep.
That's a
I
great
think
idea.
the
When,
Kiwanis and Rotary are sponsoring a community event at Hopshire sometime in the next week or so, trying to get people networked with various volunteer opportunities. I think the town is going to have a representative there. I just don't know who that might be.
That's next week already?
This is what?
It's next week? I didn't
I
realize it
think
was.
it's sometime within the week, like maybe this Saturday or some night next week.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that was where, we did talk about that and I think I heard back from Cassie or somebody that, they would investigate doing a table with a variety of, with all these openings listed.
yeah.
When is the Repair Cafe? Now I remember hearing about this, Gina. This is great. When's it?
October
I
4th.
believe it's October 4th. Yeah, Christine.
Okay.
Have any of the committees that are looking for new members developed a one-page description of what happens on the committee and our goals or a vision statement, anything like that?
Well, there's a blurb about every committee on the website.
Mhm. You see where I'm going, that it seems to me that if we had on paper something to hand out at these various events, Uncle Sam needs you kind of thing.
Yeah, you could put it down a t-shirt. Our mission, should you choose to accept it, is
Yeah, position description, I would think would help people
Mhm.
to figure out, is this even something that matches my
Yeah.
skill set? You really don't know.
I would want that.
Yeah, I can add that to my email to Cassie because I'll ask her about like the shopper ad too.
All right, that sounds great.
Ray, is Paul Simonet, is he the one that owns all the little duplexes in like Freeville up on West Dryden Road? Is he that guy or do you know who that guy
Nope.
is?
That's Bruno Schickel.
No, there's like a bunch of little just random duplexes. Like they'll be like, especially
Oh.
like the corner of Hanshaw and Etna Lane or Etna Road. There's like 4 little duplexes there, and then there's a bunch up on West Dryden Road.
is that Joe?
Do you know Joe's last name?
Joe K?
Kowitz.
Yeah.
He has places on Lower Creek. There's another, I think his name is Scott. He has a landscaping company, but he has built about a half dozen duplexes.
I think that's him. I think that's
Yeah.
him. I wonder if he would be interested in joining, maybe.
Interesting. Yeah, we have his number on an application, so I can dig that up and just
Okay.
throw the idea out there.
That'd be great.
Okay. Anybody else? These are all great ideas. Thank you. Okay. If nothing else, we can adjourn at 3:12.
All right. I was I was thinking, especially if the land bank is something David West knows about, and in general, it might be useful and interesting to have him come talk to our committee about what the county is doing and what the housing fund is doing and and certainly if he knows more about land banks, et cetera, would that be something we'd like to do?
Martha, I can see a reason for doing that. If you really want to tap into an informative person, I guess I would suggest Jocelyn Gordon or some of the people, or perhaps the director of the Seneca County. Bring in a parallel case and let them talk to us, or maybe have David and that person. I
Yeah,
think
David
he's
might find that very helpful.
stimulating. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, David would be able to, I'd like to hear from David about all things county and housing and then,
Yeah.
and back, yeah. Okay.
And how, have him tell us how we can help him start a land bank countywide.
Yeah.
Who would extend that invitation? to one or both of these people? Would that be you, Ray?
Well, I'm happy to do that with David. I am not familiar with the other Jocelyn you mentioned.
Well, Jocelyn is for the state. She's the president of the New York Land Bank Association, but I could quickly forward you the name of the person from Seneca County, or Christina could.
Okay. Yeah, I could extend the invite to both of them.
Okay, great.
I like Ray's approach. It's kind of backwards. It's not like, how can you help us set up the land bank, but how can we help you set up the land bank?
Exactly.
Yeah. Very much so.
Great. Then we can hopefully get them at the next meeting.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks all.
See you next week or next
Take
month.
care.